Welcome back, guys. This is take number 546 because Joey does not know how to read. Um,
Shut up. Let's get started.
we had an action-packed weekend in sports. Great weekend with the Elite Eight for both the men and women. Um, Great weekend in baseball. My Marlins have been disappointing, and I'm scared that this season is already over, even though we're 5 games in. Um, the NHL playoff race is heating up. The East, that is, the West is not that tight. So we're looking to cover a lot of that today for you guys, and we'll get right into it. Joey, you ready?
Yes. Shut up. Stop talking. This past weekend did not disappoint. The men and women's side had tremendous matchups, stars rise, and a couple of surprises. But the thing that is most similar is that both of these tournaments have one overwhelming favorite. Both UConn in the men's and South Carolina in the women's are bigger, faster, and stronger than the rest of the teams in their respective tournaments. But there are a few teams that could not knock them off, and those teams have gotten hot at the right time. And we could possibly see some more March magic in April. I cannot do words, but great weekend in basketball. Um I was glued to my seat, or no, I was not glued to my seat. Whatever the phrase is. Glued to my
On the
seat.
edge of your seat.
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, great weekend in basketball. Um, you have any general thoughts?
Yeah. I mainly watch the women just because that's more what I'm focused on, being a South Carolina student at this point. Now that the men are out. Um, I did watch the Houston game, Jamal. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. If it's
Shed,
Shed.
shed.
Jamal, I watched the Houston game where he went out, and I think that screwed Houston over. Um, he's a tremendous player, tremendous athlete, and a major part of the leadership of that team. And so seeing him go out was very unfortunate. Um, I mean, I think he'll end up having a career in the NBA, but I mean,
If not
this
in the Euros.
I mean, it just sucks to see someone season and like that. And then when it came to the women, the Elite Eight did not disappoint at all.
Yeah, Sweet 16
Stanford,
was kind of mid though.
Sweet 16 wasn't the greatest, but the Elite Eight, I mean, it was awesome. I think every game was somewhat close and very entertaining. I mean, we had Stanford go down, LSU, my favorite, got knocked out last night by Iowa. Um,
You
Caitlin
love
Clark
them
had a
so
four.
much that you start dropping F-bombs every time you talk about them.
Caitlin Clark dropped a 40 piece on him. So,
That was
like,
hot. I
I
was
mean,
that just the shots. There was one point in that game where she had scored or assisted on 20 of the 22 points that Iowa scored. Like she's a dog. She's all Iowa has. That's why Iowa's if they make it to the Natty, they're gonna go get murdered by whoever makes it there. Because if NC State's good enough to beat South Carolina, then they're gonna murder Iowa. Um, but yeah, we'll talk about the women here in a minute. 'Cause Sweet 16 is nothing great to talk about. Ohio State didn't do anything in there, so I don't really care. I care about the Elite Eight. So, just saying.
yeah,
All right,
the,
good.
the, the men's, I mean, the men's Sweet 16 was very, very fun to watch. Clemson, I think this is where I think we're going to segue into this, but Clemson taking down Arizona, as much as I hate Clemson, um,
Damn good
fantastic
basketball
basketball.
team.
Um,
Damn good
I,
basketball team.
I know if you follow us on Instagram, we made a post about that, but I think Arizona was the first. I think were they for the first 1 seed to go down, or were they a 2 seed?
They were a 2 seed, I think.
I think that was one of the
UNC
big.
was the first 1 seed.
So
There
Bama
were two
taking
one
out.
seeds that went down in the Sweet 16, I think. Right? Am I going insane? Yeah, there.
I think
No. No.
was it just one?
Arizona was a 1 seed.
So there were two that went down.
No, I'm stupid. No, it was UNC and Houston that went down in the Sweet 16. I'm tripping. It was
So
Houston and UNC. Arizona was 2 seed. It was a 6 and a 2 seed.
besides the point, we all get the kind of get what we were trying to say there. But great game from Clemson. I mean, just way to hang on there in the end. I think with Clemson up winning by two or three.
It was something like that. I think it was closer to 4. It was like 74-69 or something like that. 73-69.
Yeah.
Maybe
Do
that's
you
the score
want
of a
to
different game.
you want to break that down in more depth?
Um, yeah. First, I was right. I told y'all that the best basketball was coming this weekend, and I was right. But, and other than the UConn games, I think there's only one game that was decided by double digits. So I was right. Thank you very much. Um, my overall thoughts are Clemson's just was the better basketball team that night. I think Arizona has more talent. And I think it was Kenny Smith say this, is that Arizona was going to have the best player on the court in Caleb Love. And he ended up not being the best player on the court that night, Thursday night. But Clemson was going to have 2, 3, and 4, maybe even 5. And that was the problem is Caleb Love kind of shot them out of that game. And Caleb Love's known for taking bad shots. And he took a lot of bad shots. But even when he was taking good shots, he wasn't making them. So, and Tennessee survived that ugly game against Texas. Alabama survived that ugly game against Grand Canyon. Arizona couldn't survive it. They couldn't clutch up in the end. And Clemson's defense is honestly what got into the Elite Eight. I think it was Clemson's first Elite Eight in like 40 years, which is very impressive. So I can't remember Clemson's coach, but good for them. They finally figured it out as a basketball program. I hate Clemson's football program, but
Don't we all?
um, yeah. Um, I mean, Clemson was just a better team, and Clemson's bigs made a big part in that game. PJ Hall and Shiflin, I think his name is. Those dudes balled out. And if they could have stayed out of foul trouble, I think that game would have been different against Alabama. But we'll get to that. UConn and San Diego State. Like I said in the monologue, UConn's bigger, faster, and stronger than everyone else. San Diego State hung around for a while, but UConn's just a better team. That's all I gotta say. Um, I mean, I think most of us knew this was going to happen going into the game. So I'm not surprised. And the most impressive part about this game and Clemson's Elite Eight game is the fact that, or not Clemson's, UConn's. The most impressive part about it is that UConn's led by 30 in every single one of their tournament games this year, which is absolutely insane. You got any thoughts on UConn and San Diego State?
Um, Not really. I mean, yeah, I think you just about covered it. You kind of just ended up running away with it in the second half. The leading by at least 30 in the tournament games is absolutely insane. What Dan Hurley's got going on there in Connecticut is obviously working. And I don't know if you saw it. I saw a video circling on social media this past week, and it showed the UConn players doing a lot of the more simple ball handling drills, where it was like the around the waist and like a lot of just like the getting the like the touchy stuff down, and it shows just how much the small things count. Where if you're able to master the small things, it's a lot easier to translate that and take it and be better at the bigger and more advanced things. So obviously it worked. It's working. I I personally I think they're going to dominate Alabama. Yeah, I don't know how well Alabama's got a very fast paced offense, and when they can't hit a shot, it doesn't end up going well. So I think UConn's going to be a little bit more consistent. I think I could see UConn winning by 15 to 25 points. don't see them running away with it and end up being 30, but
We'll get to that when we talk about our Final Four preview because I think that game's going to go very differently. Um, but speaking of Alabama and North Carolina, and first off, Mark Sears is a dog. Like that man can pull up and hit threes from anywhere. That man's getting double doubles. I don't know if he has one in the tournament, but he always has like 8 assists or something like that. Um, Alabama, they're a well-built team for the way they play ball. Like Nate Oates, it has that team playing a different brand of ball, and that's what happened. Is you had these guys taking over this weekend, like Grant Nelson. He had like 25 points against North Carolina. He took over, and he took that game in his hands and pretty much single-handedly beat North Carolina. And just with rebounds, dunks, blocks. He's doing everything across the floor. And Alabama had that full team effort going for him. And UNC, I don't think did. RJ Davis just he figured it out in the end, but it was almost too little too late. RJ Davis could not hit a shot early, and that killed North Carolina. And I'm just Alabama proved me wrong as I came on here and said that Alabama's can't play defense, and they've played defense when it's mattered the most. These last 2 games over the weekend were high scoring, but Alabama's played defense when it matters the most. When they have to get a stop, they are getting these stops, and that is the most important thing. And I wholeheartedly believe they can hang with UConn. I wholeheartedly believe it. I think 11.5 is way too much. I think it's going to be like at most an 8-point game. I think UConn might get, especially because UConn goes through these ruts where they don't score. If Alabama can hit the 3, that game is going to be very close towards the end. But Illinois and Iowa State. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at this game a little bit harder. Did you have anything on Alabama, North Carolina?
no, you just about covered everything.
All right. Illinois and Iowa State. I'm not gonna lie. When I came on this podcast last week, I said I was gonna take Iowa State, right? I looked at this game a little bit harder. I didn't like it. I didn't like my pick for Iowa State. I ended up being right after I second guessed myself. But Terrence Shannon Jr., and these were my thoughts after the game. They're not my thoughts today, right? One of the best offensive players in the country. That man is a dog. That man I've seen this man hit almost every shot you can hit. Illinois almost costed themselves that game at the free throw line. 51%, and that allowed Iowa State to fight back. And I said this game had to be like, I think I came on here and said that this game needed to be a grimy defensive game. And it was for the most part. This was the type of game that Iowa State needed to win, needed it to be to win. Iowa State wasn't going to score 80 points. I can't remember what the final score was. I think they did score. Illinois scored 70.
It was 72-69 Illinois.
Yeah. So, it got a little. What was the box score between halves?
So at halftime, 35-26 Illinois.
I mean, that was the game it kind of needed to be. Especially when you didn't. I mean, probably could have allowed a little bit less, but that's the type of game you needed to be. Because Illinois got the ability to drop 100. And so, and I've seen Iowa State hold Houston to 40 with Jamal Shed. So, and Iowa State couldn't hit boat if they water if they fell out of the boat. So, that costed them that game. Um, Disappointing to see because Iowa State's a really good basketball team, but that's how it is in the Sweet 16. Um, Anything else on that?
No. Um, I mean, that game was, I think the biggest lead was like Illinois leading by 10, and Iowa State really closed it down in the second half of the second half. Like that last quarter of the game, Iowa State really pulled back in. Um, had some chances to get ahead. I don't think Iowa State ever led during that game, though.
I think they led at the beginning, but that was about it. Uh,
Uh, no, because
no, I don't think they
I
did.
Iowa
Now
State was
that,
held scoreless for the first 4.5 minutes.
yeah, yeah, now that I think about it, yeah. Um, and Illinois, Iowa State should have never had a chance to get back in that game. Illinois missing free throws almost costed them that game. There's no reason that game should have been 3 points. And I should have told you something about when they played UConn, and we'll get to that. But I should have told you something when they were going to play UConn. I think Iowa State was a worse matchup for UConn than Illinois would be. But especially because we'll get to that more in the Final Four preview. But I thought UConn's a bad matchup. I mean, UConn's a bad matchup for any team, but I think they're a worse matchup than Iowa State was for um UConn. Um, NC State and Marquette. Marquette came out with a bad game plan to me. They they left DJ Horn open. And we know that man can score. We've seen him do it throughout the last 3 weeks between the ACC tournament and the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. It just they were on DJ Burns too much, and they held Burns in check for the most part. But you had Daria chipping in, you had DJ Horn chipping in, um, and like I said about NC State is they got old experienced guards, and these guards were making plays, and all three of the starting guards got hot for NC State, and they just couldn't stop shooting or couldn't miss. Um, and in the end, I mean, NC State outshot Marquette when it came from behind the arc. I think Marquette was like 3 and 19 from three or something like
Marquette
that.
was Marquette shot 12.9% from beyond the arc and
Yeah,
33% overall. Whereas NC State, I mean, 46.4, and I know we talked about this a lot last week. It's really hard to go and beat a team when they're shooting right around 50%. And especially when you're Marquette and you're only shooting and being able to score on a third of your baskets, that's not efficient offense, and you're losing a lot of those possessions. And I mean, they got out rebounded too, so they're not able to extend those possessions. They're losing those possessions. Um, so yeah, I mean, just a poor showing from. What were they, a Big East school?
Creighton,
Yeah,
Creighton,
Creighton.
UConn. Who's the other one? I think it was Marquette.
Marquette is a
Yeah,
Big East school,
yeah, it is.
so yeah, a poor showing from them. NC
And
State,
guess
I
what? The
think
Big East is probably still going to win the Natty this year.
probably. I mean, I think, and we'll get to this
We'll get to
when we
this on
talk.
Friday.
Yeah, when we do our preview for the Final Four. Um,
Which don't miss that because that's going to be must see action.
yeah, I mean, especially if you're going to try and go it and put money on the line, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. But I mean,
Oh yeah,
I think we can call NC State a Cinderella run at this point. Um,
no, I literally took an entire monologue on why NC State's not a Cinderella. They're a good basketball team, bro.
they are a good basketball team, but as an 11 seed making it all the way to the Final Four, I think they could go in and beat Purdue. Um, I mean, as long as they just keep Zach Edey in check, which is hard to do, but I think you've got a shot at it, and then just be efficient on offense, go out, shoot 40% from three again, then I think you'll be fine. I think you've got a chance at it. Um, but
You're not
I
going to
mean,
stop Zach Edey, though.
yeah,
You're
but you
not
can't.
going to. You're not even going to contain him. This is why I said last week that you have to stop the ancillary pieces around Zach Edey. If you're going to beat Purdue, you cannot let Braden Smith get hot. And we'll get to this when we cover the Tennessee and Purdue game. Because I got a lot to say about that because Tennessee failed Dalton Connect. We haven't even finished Sweet 16 games, so let's get to that. And then we'll give our general thoughts on the Final Four. So, I ain't got a lot to say. But like I just said, Gonzaga allowed Purdue to win that game as a team. You're not going to stop Zach Edey. You can't allow Edey and three guards to be in double figures. Like, you just can't do that. I think Gonzaga got out-rebounded badly. They took stupid fouls. And no one wants to challenge Zach Edey on the offensive side of the ball. Or Zach Edey on defense. No one wants to challenge him. And I'll get to that when we get to Tennessee. But everyone is scared to go against Zach Edey. No one's going to go inside the paint. No one's going to post up against him. And so, until teams get Edey into foul trouble, or stop the ancillary pieces on offense around Zach Edey, you're not going to beat Purdue unless you're UConn, which in that case you're bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody. But no one else's talent is going to stop Zach Edey. And if you think UConn is going to be able to stop Zach Edey, you got another thing coming. Because Zach Edey's still bigger than Klingon. I can tell you that right now. And I'm telling you right now that NC State ain't going to stop Zach Edey. Daria's 7 foot. DJ Burns is listed at 6'9", but I don't think he's 6'9". Those two aren't going to stop Zach Edey from scoring. I can tell you that right now. They're not going to stop Zach Edey from out-rebounding them. It's not going to happen. But you have thoughts on Gonzaga and Duke?
No, good. I covered everything. Shoot there. We do need to move on now. We are dragging this out a little bit. Duke and Houston, what are your thoughts on that? I know we talked about a little bit earlier with Jamal Shed going down. Ankle injury. I didn't read into the exact like prognosis of what the diagnosis was or whatever you call it. It looked like it hurt. I mean, just the amount of pain you could see, and then like the pain you could see him in on the bench, not being able to play, and like how much it meant to him. That hurt to see as a fan. And obviously playing sports before, you know how much you want to be able to be out there with your team, and especially as you're watching your season and possibly your career fade away. Um, I mean, that sucks. So, any last thoughts on Duke and Houston?
Filipowski finally showed up in the tournament and was the star that we all thought he was going to be in this game. We can talk about Duke and NC State in a second. And then Jamal Shed, it took everything out of Houston not having Jamal Shed. That shooting was just bad after that. And so Duke just kind of outwilled Houston, and Houston just couldn't buy a bucket after Shed went out. So for a while there. So it sucked to see Houston go down that way, but if you're relying on Jamal Shed for all your scoring, you don't deserve to be national champions. Tennessee and Creighton. Very physical game from Tennessee. Definitely hurt Creighton. And if I think the announcers were saying this too, is that Creighton did not deal well with the physicality of that game, and it was on display. And um, Tennessee keeps clutching up on the free throw line and hitting shots when they need to at the end of the games. Um, and Creighton just turned over the ball too much. Those are my general thoughts. You got anything on that?
Close game in the first half, not so close in the first half, the second half, but then Creighton obviously came back a little bit. Doesn't help that they couldn't score there at the end, um, for the most part. But no, I mean, you talk about turning it over. They had more than twice as many turnovers as Tennessee, so that's not help you win games. And it's, again, not being efficient on offense for the most part. I mean, they were shooting well. I mean, 44% from the field and 48% from three. Efficient shooting. I mean, I guess he just didn't put up enough shots in the end to be able to win. So, I mean, that just about covers it. And then Illinois and UConn. What are your general
Do you
thoughts
want
on
to do the
that?
women's real quick? Just run through the women's real quick first.
Yeah,
All right. So your final four teams are South Carolina and NC State, and then UConn and Iowa. Very impressive that two schools have both their men's and their women's teams going to the final four, which is impressive. Um, and I still think the favorites are going to win the Natty. Um, I watched highlights of the all four of the games. I wasn't able to catch them. But Oregon State scared South Carolina for a little bit. I thought that was interesting. Um, I don't really, I don't have a lot of thoughts on NC State, Texas, LSU, and Iowa. And I'll get to this on Friday, but um, more on Friday. Caitlin Clark's the dog. But Caitlin Clark is also Iowa. I don't think Iowa will be a top 25 team next year. Um, and then UConn and USC, two of the I don't know how much you consider Paige Buchers young, but two of the younger players going at it. Um, that was a thrilling matchup, even though they decided to have it at like not starting until like 10:45 at night. But
I mean, it was out in Portland though, so
yeah, they started at like 9:30, but some of us got work in the morning, so
that is a fair point there. Just looking at the first, I'll talk about the Iowa LSU game. Um, Hell of a game from both sides. I mean, back and forth, taking shots, going on runs. I mean, impressive. Angel Reese fat out there in the end. I thought that was a charge. I mean, she very obviously drops the shoulder and goes into
she didn't even argue it. I mean, everyone knows it was a charge. Kim
yeah.
Mulk, if you're the coach, you got to work the refs. Every coach should be working the refs.
So I mean, I think that Iowa's reaction was even funnier because I think just every single one of those the Iowa fans in that arena were waving goodbye. So that is likely the end of Angel Reese's college career. We'll see what her official statement is coming out here very shortly. Should be in the next couple days. But then over to NC State and Texas. I'm surprised. I didn't see NC State making it this far. Um, Lost to Notre Dame in the ACC tournament final, and so I guess that really spurred them into a tournament run here. But I think the big thing for NC State that Texas wasn't able to stop was their very like fast-paced transition offense and I guess longer, not like full like football throw down the court pass, but they're like stretch passes to be able to get that quick transition offense going. So that'll be very good matchup with South Carolina, who's got a very good transition defense and is very good at getting back. So we'll see how well South Carolina is able to limit those transition points for NC State and how well NC State's able to run an offense in the half court and be able to try and extend possessions and out rebound. It's going to be hard to get around 6'7" Cardoso when a lot of your a lot of your guards aren't going to be, or not guards, but a lot of your players aren't going to be able to compete in size. So again, South Carolina giving me heart attacks. I mean, two straight games they blow pretty big leads. The Oregon State game was on Easter, so I was able to watch that with my family. But that one, I mean, oh goodness, I was pacing back and forth the entire game would probably be a good way to put it. But I mean, the Indiana game where I think we were up 22 and only ended up winning by two or three at the end off of free throws. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think Raven
Don't you
Johnson
love
saying,
I sent you that clip of Dawn Staley
yeah,
the
Raven
South Carolina
Johnson.
play and be like, who's gonna stop us? Dawn Staley was like, we gave up like a 17-point lead. Like
So I think Raven Johnson needs to hone in the cockiness for now, go out, win a natty, and then be able to go and say whatever you want, and you just back it up. So wait, I mean, I'm a big karma guy. I don't think you should say anything before it happens. I think you might jinx it. So
especially because there are some three good other basketball teams in there.
yeah, so we'll see how it works. I'm intrigued to see how this Iowa UConn game is going to go with Caitlin Clark just firing from literally anywhere on the court that she wants. I don't know
Page
how.
buckets.
I don't know. I would like to see a South Carolina Iowa rematch. I would also like to see a South Carolina UConn rematch from earlier this season when we beat them by I think 20 at home here. So
You know what I'd like to see?
what?
NC State versus whoever. Sorry, I just had to do it to you. Anything else on the women's?
No, I wish there was a booing noise I could play here. Unfortunately, not. There's only clapping and laughing.
Oh,
So
yeah, you should clap for me because that was funny.
no, terrible
Anyway,
joke.
Elite Eight. Elite Eight. Illinois and UConn on Saturday. Like I said in the monologue, UConn's bigger, faster, and stronger. Where and also where is Terrence Shannon in this game? Where? I was gassing this man up on the I think it was Thursday night. Just gassing this man up. And then he just disappeared and went like 2 of 12 from the field. I don't know where he went. 30-0 run is inexcusable. Like how did you turn the ball over that many? Like you almost had to try to let UConn on a 30-0 run. In the Elite Eight, you were the second best team in your region, and you let them go on a 30-0 run. And Illinois just couldn't shoot. Like, even if they could shoot, they were going to lose that game. But they couldn't shoot, and they got blown out by like 25. I mean, 30-0 run is insane, dude. It was 23 to 23 at one point.
Yeah. It was right before the end of the half. It was 23-23,
That's when it
and then
started, yeah.
I mean 20 I think it was 28 straight points out of the half that UConn was able to score. Illinois couldn't buy a bucket. They couldn't buy a free throw. They couldn't buy anything. Their offense just stopped. Um,
They
that's
couldn't shoot. They
that's what
couldn't
killed them.
shoot
They
easy 2-point shots in the paint. They
they
missed
shot
21 layups at one point.
they shot 25% overall. So I mean, hard to win a game when you can't even shoot 30-40%.
You're not
Um,
going to beat Longwood doing that.
no, you're not going to beat anyone doing that. You're not going to beat me and a couple buddies doing that. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Given playing against me and some buddies, you probably shoot like 80%. But yeah,
No,
just
you
poor,
ain't shooting good. I ain't shooting any better. That's what it is. You ain't scoring on
poor,
me, but I sure as hell ain't scoring on you.
poor second half performance is an understatement. I just don't know where you go from there. That's an embarrassment. Um, I mean, you don't give up that massive run. I mean, that was neck and neck for almost the entirety of the first half, and so you don't give up the second half run. Who knows what happens?
Well, and Illinois went down 9-0 at the beginning of that game.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was 9-0 and they fought back just to blow it by not being able to shoot and making stupid ass turnovers. Like, what the hell are we doing? Like, and as a coach, how does your team not score? Like, I'm throwing the entire team away. Y'all are all going in the transfer portal. I don't care. Y'all are all going in the transfer portal. But coach, we were the best offense. No, you're going in the transfer portal. You're done. You just let a team score 30 straight points on you. 30 unanswered points. You're all in the transfer portal.
okay. Moving on, Clemson, Bama. Not the first time we've heard of this matchup, and probably not the
Surely
last
not the
time we'll hear of it
last.
either. Um,
Who would have thought you'd see
what,
that in basketball?
in the Elite Eight too.
Yeah.
CST Elite Eight next year, I could see that.
Clemson ain't making the playoffs next year.
Probably not. I hope not. I hope we're the ones that bury them again in their playoff hopes next year. So we'll see. Don't want to call anything too early, but
Oh, I'll call that. Anyway, Clemson got that early 13-point lead. Didn't really know if Alabama was going to come back, and then they did. And as I said earlier, Alabama has continued to play defense when it matters most. I will continue to say it. I'll die on that hill, especially the last 3 games. Is when they need that stop, they're getting it, and they're getting the depth scoring. They had Estrada and Nelson against North Carolina. And then Stevenson hit like 4 or 5 threes. Just out of nowhere. Bench player. Just had like 15 points. And so, and Clemson got into foul trouble. I think if PJ Hall doesn't get into that foul trouble, it's a different game. Because he had to sit a lot of that game because he got into so much foul trouble. But again, Bama's pieces just and Clemson's a really good defensive team who has been holding teams to low good 3-point teams, 3-point shooting teams down. And Alabama was able to shoot from beyond the arc, especially when Mark Sears got hot, Stevenson got hot. And that's when Alabama pretty much took over that game. It was only like a 6-point game, right?
7. But
Yeah, so Bama, Clemson kept it close, but Bama just ended up pulling away because they could shoot. And I really like the way this Alabama team's built. And they might lose by 15 to UConn, but I'm telling you, I got a feeling that Alabama's gonna at least cover that spread.
so again, we'll get into that more come Friday.
Friday.
So
Anything on Clemson, Alabama?
no, I'm happy Clemson lost. That
All right.
could have been seen from a mile away though. What are your
All
thoughts
right.
on Tennessee and Purdue?
These 2 games I got a lot to say about because these 2 games, Tennessee makes it to the second Elite Eight all time. Why are we taking stupid fouls against Zach Edey? When are we going to stop fouling Zach Edey? And when are we going to start challenging him offensively? Because those were the 3 things that lost you this game. And Zakai Ziegler have just absolutely wet the bed, for lack of a better term. Absolutely just... And I thought before this game that Zakai Ziegler was going to have a performance comparable to Braden Smith. Probably have to play as good as him. Because that was the matchup. And he came nowhere near it. No one helped Dalton Connect. I think Dalton Connect had 35 points. No one helped him. He had no help whatsoever. He was doing it on his own. And Tennessee just I don't know why or what was going on, but I mean, a dude can only do it for so by himself for so long. I mean, and Zach Edey's got those ancillary pieces around him. And Dalton Connect did, but Sakai Ziegler just didn't do anything. Tennessee's bigs are not good offensively. And that a lot of that was the problem is 'cause you didn't get Zach Edey in foul trouble. And you kept taking stupid fouls on Edey when he's going to make score that bucket. You smacking his arm doesn't do anything. He's going to dunk that. He's 8'10". You're not going to stop him from scoring on that play. And there were probably 4 or 5 instances of that. Because I think Edey drew like 15 fouls. And so Rick Barnes still can't make it to a Final Four. So we'll see if he can do it, but he ain't going to have a team better than this.
So I can tell you where Tennessee's problem started, and that was on the boards. When you get out rebounded by 21, that's a disaster. Um,
Purdue does that
just
to everyone, though. And look
yeah,
how close that game was.
Purdue had 34 defensive boards. That in and of itself is impressive. That was
And
more
like I
than
said,
Tennessee
those
had total rebounds.
And that's that monster just standing in the middle. And he didn't have to come out of the game because he was never in foul trouble. I've said for the last 40 minutes. So, you got anything else on that? Because I can go off about this for the rest of the night.
Nope.
All right. NC State and Duke. Duke, it's a game was very close in the first half, and then NC State got really hot, and Duke was not so hot. Diarra and Burns got into quite a bit of foul trouble, and I thought Middlebrooks played really well. And I think that was a big part of why they were able to win this game, is because they got that play from that third big, and he played so well because Diarra and Burns just kept getting into foul trouble. Filipowski needed to have a game like he did on Friday night against whoever the hell they played. Um, Too many games for me to remember. Filipowski needed another big game, and just he in the like I thought, and I said before the tournament that I thought Duke was soft, and Filipowski just got pushed around by DJ Burns. Because they had Filipowski playing defense on Burns, and DJ would DJ Burns is so good in the post, so good in the post. Watching that big guy work in the post is just, and with the type of touch he has, but DJ was just pushing Filipowski around, and that was a bad matchup for Filipowski, and it's why DJ Burns ended up scoring. I think it was 25.
29.
Yeah, I think, and um, yeah, I mean that's what I got. There's not much else to say. I think Duke got pushed around. Um, I think NC State was a better, more physical team, and they shot better in the second half.
I think we need to put this on a t-shirt, but I mean, this goes back to what we said 2 or 3 episodes ago. Physicality wins trophies, and
Old guards and physical bigs. It's what I
I mean,
said before the tournament.
you spelled it out. You spelled Duke's downfall with them being soft. I don't think that they had the experience nor really the size. I mean, you look at Filipowski, he's tall, but I mean, dude's really just skin and bones. I mean, you look at DJ Burns. I mean, there's people talking like, "Hey, you should go be
Look at Zach Edey though.
like an offensive tackle." Zach Edey's got some meat to him. Like he ain't a skinny
That's
boy.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Like
saying. Like, if he was built more like Zach Edey, it wouldn't have been a problem.
yeah, and so I mean, I guess they just need to feed more of the kids at Duke. I don't know what they're doing with their eighty
It's
thousand
called
dollars
their
a year
freshman.
scholarship, but I mean, you, you, you just weren't big enough. and I mean big enough horizontally. Um, Duke,
And
I mean
Duke's
that
guards did not play well.
second time in 2 weeks they've lost to NC State.
Well, Duke's guards didn't play well. I thought this game was going to be about the guard matchup, and it was to an extent. I was telling my dad this because I was over watching the games with him. It was going to come down to the guard matchup, and NC State has the old experienced guards, and Duke has the. I think they had a I think they had a graduate, a sophomore, and a freshman, and all three of NC State's guards were graduates or seniors, and so NC State, it's just the experience won them that game. And like I've been saying, old experienced guards win you tournaments. And it could win NC State the game against Purdue. We'll see. But we're not gonna do any Final Four preview right now. Um I think the matchup between NC State and Duke is going to be fascinating. I think the matchup between UConn and Alabama is going to be fascinating. And I don't me clearly me and Briggs disagree on this, but I think Alabama's the worst matchup probably UConn could have gotten, but we'll see. Um
Before we move on to baseball and the opening days/weekend, I don't know if you saw this. He's been at work all day. Michie Johnson transferring out of South Carolina and heading to the Ohio State.
the only thing
What are
is
your
is
thoughts on that?
Michi's very inconsistent, so I don't trust him.
Very, very streaky. I don't know why he left. I get he might want to go back home, but I think if you look at it, the South Carolina program, I think, is in a little bit of a better spot than where Ohio State is right now. Um, so, I
But
mean,
we'll
I
see
think
with Diebler. We could have a Mont Paris run next year, type thing.
you could,
We could
but
we could do the exact same thing that y'all did,
I don't know. I mean, the Big Ten outside of
especially because the Big
Purdue,
Ten's a worse conference.
yeah. So, I mean, you guys have a chance, but I mean, I guess they won't have Zach Edey next year, so we'll have to see what Purdue does. But I mean, they got some more bigs coming up the tunnel. Um, Moving on to MLB. I get a lot of these takes are going to be based solely off of the first 5 games, 5 games or so. Some have played more, some have played less. There's 162 games in a season.
Well, guys are gonna
Tiny
get
fraction.
injured. Yeah,
So we'll see. First thing, the Orioles, their offense is red hot. Their first 2 games, they put up 11 runs and 13 runs respectively. I mean, that's great. And then Ryan Mountcastle, he's been around the block a minute. He's batting 429 5 games into the season. I don't know if we'll see like a Luis Arraez run from last year where he was batting up around 400 for just about the entire season, which is, for anyone who knows baseball, that
insane.
is insane, unheard of, especially nowadays with the pitching. Um, so Orioles, I think they haven't even reached their potential. I think they're just going to
They
keep
still
going
have
up.
like the number one prospect pool.
Yeah, I mean,
And and
us being
speaking of the Orioles, I sent Briggs and if you haven't seen the clip, go check it out. But Jackson Holiday hitting that leadoff homer for the Miners. Oh, it just looks so good. It just warms my heart that Norfolk actually has something.
so
Just
just looking at the data, a lot of our viewers and stuff being somewhat from the Norfolk area, get out to a Tides game. We have one of the best farm systems in the minor leagues.
had
Um,
the Tides were champs last year.
yeah, coming off an International League
Shout
championship. So
out Norfolk Tides.
get out there, represent the 757. Ain't a better area code out there. I will die on that hill. No, no
Oh,
one's no
I will not die on that hill.
no one's coming close. I firmly believe that. Um, Moving on, the NL East is a very interesting division, in my opinion. You've got the Marlins and Mets, who are off to a very rough start. The Mets have won one game. The Marlins haven't won yet, and they have a chance tomorrow night to do something not so good. I think they'll be the
And this
first
is
team.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, we're, at time of recording, it's Tuesday night.
Time of recording is
So
Tuesday night.
when you're listening to this, later tonight being Wednesday night, if the Marlins lose, I think they'll drop to 0-8 maybe. Um, I think they're 0-6, 0-7, 0-8. Hasn't been done because all of their games are at home. I think they'll be the first team since the Braves um, a little while ago to lose 7 or 8 games in an opening homestand. So not the way I wanted to see the season start. And the Marlins last year, they were 46-35 at home and already 0-4. So we need something to change. The lack of additions in the offseason really hurt us. And I mean, what we had last year was working. I mean, Jorge Soler left, big part of the offense. Luis Arias just, I don't think, has been all that hot. Um, and then we were 33-14 in one-run games and 7-3 in extra innings. And they already have losses in both a one-run game against the Pirates and an extra inning game against the Pirates. So at least they
And the
kept it
Pirates are
somewhat
looking
close.
good, dude.
Yeah, they
Like,
haven't
Brand, the
lost yet.
Marlins have looked like trash this year, but the Pirates might actually have something going for them.
So
Could I call it? Is this my a vengeance for Detroit? Because I think I mentioned the Pirates when we covered the MLB. Is this my vengeance for that? Detroit's downfall, like the Pirates get to ascend to death and like just win their division.
now we say that, I'd bet against the Pirates for the next couple of days, just because we know what happened the last time Joey said something about a team doing real well. Um, if that
And they
is,
lead their division. They lead their division right now.
again,
5-0, baby. 5-0.
we're only 5 games into a 162 game season, but I think the Marlins, we're going to be able to look at these first 5, 6 games and be able to forecast the future. It is not looking good this season. I remember talking earlier, they might slide in that third wild card spot. I think at this point, you're sitting at probably less than a 5% chance to make the playoffs, and very, very unlikely they make that wild card. Um, the Mets offense has been abysmal, and abysmal is probably an understatement. Utter shit is probably a better word to describe it. They have one game where they've scored more than one run. One game where they scored more than one run.
Who's that against? I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Um, so I don't know what you're doing in New York. You need to take
And
after the
Detroit's
Yankees.
4-0 right now. The Mets got rained out today.
So the Yankees, on the other hand, so far undefeated, and the offense churning on all levels, which very surprising because at the end of last year,
They couldn't score last
when they were
year.
making their playoff push, they couldn't score. So the fact that they have scored an ungodly amount of runs, I think they have the highest run differential so far in the MLB. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how that certainly plays out, whether or not they're able to keep up. Again, of course, they're not going to be able to keep at the rate they're at now, but if they're able to keep the bats hot and stay somewhat healthy as we get into late summer and August and September, and especially as the Yankees make their push for an October run. Um, so that was one of my bigger surprises. The Braves offense, also on fire.
Surprise, surprise.
They've put up 9+ runs in 3 out of the 5 games they've played so far, including outscoring the Phillies 26-11 in the 3 games they played. I think it was either the first or second game got postponed due to weather. So
Yeah.
I talked about the Yankees. Some of my other bigger surprises from these past couple of days of baseball: the Houston Astros got swept by the Yankees. I thought the Astros would at least split the series there. Um, I don't know
Could this
what's
be
going
the
on.
year that the Astros finally fall off?
I hope so. I'm tired of them being in the playoffs. I want someone else to make it, at least get another team in the playoff spot there. They do have 2 players hitting above 400, which, again, we're only 5 games in, but I mean, at this point, you're probably 15, 16 at bats. So getting on base.
You're
eight
probably about
times.
18. You're probably about 18 at bets.
So something around there. Still solid for how far in. Again, I I'm interested to see with how well these hitters have been hitting. If we do see someone make another Luis Arraez run from last year, um, again that was incredible. But how long he was able to keep getting on base. I think he had a round of 400 into mid to late July. So we'll certainly see how that plays out. I think my biggest surprise is Yoshinobu Yamamoto and his struggles. Given I think the balls are different and like the texture from what they play in Japan and what they play here in the MLB, and he may still be adjusting to that. But through his two appearances so far, he has a 7.5 ERA. Certainly not what the Dodgers are paying him for, and certainly not what the folks out in LA are really wanting him to push for numbers wise. So it'll be interesting to see how he acclimates to the new ball, or new balls being the MLB balls over the course of the next month or so. But if he starts, or if he stays kind of at this level with this disappointing um, ERA, then I might start talking about this being the greatest heist of all time in the MLB. Um, so,
No, that's Shohei's interpreter.
I mean,
Also,
yeah,
I got something to say on that. Why are you paying a guy this much money who has never proven it in the greatest baseball league there is? The greatest baseball league in the world. Why are you paying this guy? Uh, I don't even remember what the contract
700,
was.
seven
Why are
hundred
we
over
paying
10
this guy
years.
seven? Why are we paying this guy 700 million? Uh,
So
to do what?
the way I had it explained to
To
me
just
is
let dudes hit tanks on him?
so the way I had it explained to me was he has times where he's very good at pitching and where he could be an all-star pitcher. I I mean this goes back to the whole betting thing. I think there's a lot more under the table that we don't know yet, that the MLB is trying to keep under wraps. Just because he is, I think, would be considered the face of the MLB at this point in time. But he could be like an all-star pitcher if he wanted to, as well as an all-star hitter. And where his numbers were at that point in time, and the contract you see respectfully or respectively for what the hitters were commanding, what the pitchers were commanding, and you add it up, you'd get around that $700 million figure. Um, I mean, outrageously expensive, but insanely smart with how they structured it to avoid those California income taxes. Those who know me, I
Are you
hate
talking
taxes.
about Yamamoto or are you talking about Shohei?
Shohei
We're talking about Yamamoto.
Yamamoto was a freaking beast in Japan, but I mean, this is his first couple games in the MLB. Again, he's still acclimating
That's
to
what
the
I'm
ball
talking about. Why are we paying this dude that much money?
because he was so good in Japan. I think like 19, 20 years old. So again, he's got a lot of upside. I think he just needs to be able to hone it in. Um, and then, of course, that's all I've got for the MLB. Again, we're only 5 games in, 6 games in, depending, could be up to 8, depending on who you watch. But um, we'll see how these early trends start to take form over the next couple of weeks, especially as we get into mid to late May. I think is where you'll start to really see who'll be able to make a playoff push. Um, but speaking of playoff pushes, the NHL heating up. I think everyone's got less than 10 games left. Most people have around seven. Um, and 7 teams have already clinched. So if you're a Boston Bruins fan, if you're a Florida Panthers, Rangers, Hurricanes, Dallas Stars, Avalanche, and Vancouver have all punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So congrats to them. Um, Currently, there's 5 teams, six if you want to throw Philly, or yeah, six if you want to throw Philly, that are kind of right in that race for the East wild card, that last spot. I mean, it is so dang close. I mean, I wish there was like 6 or 7 more games that would just add on to the schedule. Um, just because the hockey's been so good lately. Um, the Caps, I mean, they've lost three straight. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to not make the playoffs. I'd be very surprised if they do. I think they'll set a record if they do for the worst goal differential team to make a wild card spot. Um, currently, I think as of tonight,
Negative
uh,
35,
yeah, and there's
minus
only five.
35.
I think there's five teams with the worst goal differential, being Anaheim, Chicago, San Jose, Columbus, and Montreal. You know what all five of those teams have in common?
They all suck.
Yeah, they're all lottery teams. So not the grouping you want to be in. But I mean, you look at some of these other metrics. The Washington Capitals only have two 20-plus goal scorers in Ovechkin and Dylan Strome. Um, they're ranked 19th in goals against per game at 3.11. 27th in goals for per game at 2.7. 22nd in save percentage at 9.01. 17th in power play percentage at 21%. And their PK is 19th in the league at 79%. So how are they still in the race when every single one of these major metrics is in the bottom half of the league?
I'm looking over their schedule. I mean, I don't. Unless they were just getting beaten that bad. I mean, they did just get beaten. They lost
6-2 by
to.
Buffalo.
Yeah, they got beaten pretty bad by Buffalo, which it's crazy how these teams in the East keep losing to Buffalo in one of the more important games of the year. But, um, yeah, I mean, you got Detroit tied with Washington in points, but Washington's got a game on them. And then Washington's a point behind Philly, who's third in the Metro. Um, so this this race is gonna heat up. Tampa's pretty much got that first wild card spot locked.
Assuming they
Um,
don't lose out, they have it. They have it locked down.
pretty much. Um, like I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Winnipeg's pretty much got their game, their thing. As long as most of these teams go 500, they'll be in the playoffs that are currently here. Um,
So
yeah,
Washington, I think, has
it's
what 8 games remaining, and out of those 8 games, I think 6 of them are playoff teams. So I think they play Philly once. There's a chance to get a game on them. I think we play Detroit here coming up later this week. So again, going to be very
next Tuesday.
interesting. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah,
I think
I think the Wings got a chance too. They got Rangers, Sabres, Caps, all those at home, at the Penguins, at the Maple Leafs, home against the Habs, at the Habs.
so. You guys definitely have a easier finishing schedule than Washington
You
does.
go. How many games? With 7 games left, you go 5-2. You make the playoffs more than likely. Even if you go 4-3, you still got a chance, or at least
I
4-2-1.
We have 8 games left. We've only played 74.
Yeah, the Wings have played 75. Cause y'all got a game on us.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how Washington's going to do with them being in the
They're
bottom
going
half
to get absolutely murdered
in the first
by.
round.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a sweep. This isn't going to be no Cinderella story. I'm putting all of my money into a basket and handing it to a sports book, telling them, give me whoever Washington's playing him for.
That's probably going
I'll
to be like
probably
a
do that
minus
I'll do
100.
that for the Wings. I'll probably do that for the Wings, except in 5. That's probably what I'll do.
So, I don't condone you putting all of your money on
Shut
someone
up.
to lose in 4 or 5.
Shut
Terrible
up.
idea. Might have to put in a plug for the gambling hotline
Hey,
here.
you was You was the one that was bringing us down in picks this week, Mr. 2-3.
You were 3-2. Hey, I've been the one that
Hey,
historically has
bro.
been hotter, but
Bro, you take
we'll see.
minus 200 bets. I don't want to hear it. Bro takes bets that are minus 200 and then it's like, yeah, I carry the picks. Bro, I'm up units on you. Like,
So we'll see though. I don't think I have any minus 200 this week.
what are your bets? What are your bets?
So we'll just go straight into picks for the weekend. I got Carolina money line at Boston, who I think is plus money. Or not, Carolina money line versus Boston, so it's at Carolina. That's tomorrow, Thursday night. Um,
I thought this
Washington,
weekend picks.
yeah, I've got Washington money line at Carolina. Friday night. Give me NC State plus 11.5 versus South Carolina. I think that game's going to be closer. I think South Carolina's ultimately going to win, knock on wood. But I think NC State's going to be able to keep it to within 5, 6 points, um, just like Oregon State did, just like Indiana did. I don't know how the first half's going to go. South Carolina might
Oregon
jump out to a
State
big
lost by
lead.
12, my boy.
But, I mean, it was free throws in the end. It wasn't.
It
It
doesn't
was. It
matter.
was.
When you're betting spreads, it's all that matters.
It was closer than the score made it seem.
But when
I've
you're
got
betting spreads, it doesn't matter.
UConn. I've got UConn and Iowa under 162.
Bro's going all the
I
women's basketball.
No, because I mean I had two hockey, two women's basketball, and then uh, tomorrow, April 4th, give me St. Louis money line versus the Marlins. I have no hope for this team at this point. Again, I'm gonna bet against them and hope that they win and lose the pick because at this point, if I just keep picking them to win or lose, then they win. Hey, they might go on a winning streak. What do you have for picks for the week?
So I'm gonna give you two bonus picks first.
Ooh,
Um,
we like those.
I think I hit the one last week. It was the Tennessee Creighton over. I think I hit that. Um, give me for two bonus picks. Give me the over in NC State and Purdue at 145.5. And then give me the under in Bama and UConn at 160.5. Also, Bama's plus 500 on the money line in that game. That is insane.
You might want to parlay that with something. Get some like plus one
I'm
thousand odds.
parlaying NC State and Alabama together. That's gonna give me like plus 1,500. Because NC State's plus 325.
It's gonna, I think
But
it's gonna end up.
anyways,
I think it's gonna end up being around plus 2,000.
I can do that right now. But um, for actual picks, um, on Friday, give me Mariners, Brewers, Nerfy. It's Nerfy season, baby. Let's get it. Let's get excited. Then I got South Carolina playing against the Wolfpack. Minus 11.5. Let's get excited. Um, I don't see anyone stopping them. And I think they won both their games this weekend by double digits. So we're gonna trust it. NC State plus 9.5 against Purdue. I think this line's way too far. Give me Bama plus 11.5. Against UConn. And on Saturday, give me Panthers over Bruins money line. I don't have the odds on most of these, but
Some of
let's
those
get
aren't even out
excited.
yet. But yeah, if you stayed this far and actually got the picks and bonus picks, take some of them, don't take
All
all of them.
7 of them are gonna hit, bro. Tell you.
That historically has not happened yet. So
We
hey,
was hot the
there's a
first
first.
weekend.
Yeah, we were 8-2, and since then we've been like 500 every week. So um,
Well, maybe if you'd stop going 2-3.
I've been the one carrying the picks.
No, you haven't, dog.
Yes, I have. I mean, we can go back and review the tape, but um, if you've stayed this long, thank you. We love you. Thanks for supporting us. Like, subscribe, do all that. Yeah, I don't have anything else for you. Joe, you have anything?
Trying to get to 100 trillion subscribers, so let's do that. Um, Go check out NutriSaveHealth.com. There's merch, creatine. Do we have whey yet?
Yeah, protein is up there.
Do we have
Free work,
pre-workout yet?
free workouts coming very soon.
We
It's
got it in the
it's
works. We got it in the works.
we've got it. We've got it ordered. We're working on getting it out to some of our athletes who we have signed. Who that news is also coming out soon. So make sure to go over and follow NutriSafe Fitness and the podcast. And I think what we haven't talked about this yet, but I'm feeling spicy. When we reach 100 subscribers, we will do a
Oh
giveaway.
God.
Someone's getting pre-workout. I don't care who. Get us to 100 subs. So yeah,
Share with your friends, share with your homeboys. Let us know. Let them know what we all
that
about.
that was fruity. That had a lot of zest to it.
You know, I'm done with you.
It's
We've
too
been on
okay.
this. We've been on this for too long. I'm
Okay.
tired of dealing with you after an hour and 15.
Thank you guys for listening.
75 minutes too long dealing with your ass.
We will see you guys Friday. Thank you for watching, listening, however you're doing it, watching reels. We don't care how you watch, where you watch, how you listen. Thank you. Peace out.